Welcome to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. My name is Crimson, creatrix of Esoeroticism, and I help mystically minded folks awaken their dark feminine magic. Welcome to the Portal of Enchantment. Welcome, Dez Solvang, or Solvang if you're Nordic, to the Esoerotic Dark Feminine Magic Podcast. How are you today? And welcome. Where are you joining us from?
Loveland, Colorado, and I am well. It's a beautiful day. It's a little cooler today, so I'm here for it.
Yes, we're recording on a beautiful Sunday morning in August, so we take those cool moments and we'll go more into your story as we continue in the podcast. But Des was an original instructor at the Minx and Muse studio in Austin. She was my partner in crime as we were planning things. She had I would say, cult-like following in her class, softcore stretch, and you were just a magical, magical human. One of the first people that I became friends with when I moved to Austin, a creative visionary. And we still talk. You still teach in our virtual community, the multiverse. And recently we were talking about, you know, the dark feminine. We were talking about, we always talk anything from embodiment to metaphysics, but we started talking about the ego and we said, we need to start recording this.
Yeah.
And so, why don't you kind of lead us into maybe some changes you've had in your life and how you've kind of emerged at this next version of yourself as a witch?
Thank you. Yes. So, you tooted up my ego too with that whole intro. So then, uh,
Speaking of ego,
speaking of, yeah. So the ego work for me began even deeper when I was pregnant. And
yes.
yeah, so pregnancy and really restricting things that supported my ego, so supported the sum of my learned experiences, as Michael Singer puts it. When those were kind of taken away just by physical changes, by mental changes, just everything, becoming a mother and yeah, everything that happened to become a mother too. And then so that I could feel like in the transition during that time. And that was a big ego check. That was a big, wow, what am I dealing with right now? I'm in this transition, I'm in this sticky space. And then becoming a mother to a precious little girl, that has been a transformation and a definite ego flow, ego analysis and awareness.
Yeah, and like what I'm picking up here is the fact that it was an embodied experience. So Des she taught us softcore stretch, but she also teaches and still does pole and is a very sensual mover and expresser and are very much an embodied human as it came to moving your body.
Yeah.
And we always, in esoeroticism, like to talk about the transformational potential that is being embodied, and you literally being in your body with another human in it is just going to be such a transformational experience. And you being very conscious and very metaphysically wise, I think was really able to take that and glean a lot of insight. Can you maybe not define, but maybe share with us how you see the ego, or what is the ego?
Yeah, so the sum of learned experience, as Michael Singer puts it, and then I love that because then it's like all of our learned experience thus far. So, and that is an application to who we identify as, right? So it's our how Mark Nepo also. Are you familiar with Mark Nepo and all of
No,
his spirit? He's a
I know
wonderful.
Michael Singer, but not
Yeah, I would recommend the Book of Awakening. It's like a daily book that you can go through. Yeah. But how he puts it is more of kind of how we see it, more, I would say, like traditionally used as like external validation, and how we're seen by others, and how we think we need to be seen by others. So if you think about tying that in with Michael Singer's The Sum of Learned Experiences, everything we think we know, and kind of how we test life on what we think we know and what we've experienced, whether it's reality or not. If we combine those two things, I think that is the ego. And I think it's the ego is also kind of demonized, right? Oftentimes, instead of really looking at how we want to work with it and how we want to integrate it. So that's I think that's the ego.
And
Yeah.
there's healthy ego and unhealthy ego.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a way to put it. And you're really concerned with, okay, how do I work with ego in a healthy way? Because I think we often hear the word ego in an unhealthy way, and how that can contribute when it's unchecked or unconscious into even like narcissism and a disconnection from maybe unity.
Right. Yeah. And with the unhealthy ego, I think that's oftentimes too when we're looking at it through a masculine lens, more how we can control something, how we can um, even manipulate it with our consciousness instead of, the dark feminine, how we can integrate it and nurture it. And that comes back to being a mother too, right? And now a mother to a toddler. The masculine likes to look at kind of the negative parts of the ego, like tantrums, right? Oh, my ego's throwing a tantrum right now. And the dark feminine likes to look at it, well, what is the ego telling and sharing with me, and how can I nurture the ego? And I find that in motherhood too. How can I nurture what's really going on here? But yes, we do have the dark. We have I won't say dark, right? But we have like the more negative ego, and we have the lighter ego to both pay attention to. And I think oftentimes too, when we see like the scarier ego coming out too, that also bridges to consciousness. And I don't think people who are living in their ego as the forefront and how they're interacting with the world in their ego, with some of their own experiences, how they want to be presented, I don't think they're conscious to it either. So that's a whole nother level of compassion that we can, once you recognize your own. So
Ego awareness
yes.
is a thing, because I think, and this is like, to me, this is the dark feminine approach, spiritual approach, which is what we're going to talk about deeper. And I think when we enter the spiritual world, we think, oh, we need to release the ego. And I mean, problematic, right?
Yeah. I don't think, but I mean, kind of like, we hear ego death. And I think ego death, it's a great way to put it, but it's also ego awareness, like you were saying. I think the awareness of the ego is the death of the ego itself. But it's, again, it's not something we can, yeah, it's not something that we can control. It's not something that we can checkbox. It's not, oh, we get to ego death and then we can announce it to the world. My ego's died. I'm living in my consciousness fully, and wouldn't that
I'm woke. You're not.
be I'm better than my ego? I'm better than you. But it's there, and that's the beautiful thing. We operate in our ego too most of the time. We have to continually check our ego and notice it. That's the noticing of it, right? Is what we need to do. And then when it comes up and we're like, oh, I'm noticing this right now. This, I'm living in my ego, or my thoughts, my thinking brain is my ego, right? And my thoughts aren't always my truth. And yeah, it's not something that we can just fully shed ever.
That, I think, is one of the first steps into expressing the ego through the dark feminine. The realization that my thoughts are not my truth.
Yeah. The thoughts are not, yeah. And our thinking brain really, and our ego thinking brain likes to think that, right? To let us know this is our truth. This is my reality. Because it's safe. It's safe here.
Yeah, and we know the masculine is all about the conscious mind, the logical mind, whereas the feminine, which we have both of these are not, aligned to, you have to identify one gender or another, but the feminine is the subconscious,
Mhm.
and it's the inner self. And so I could see how the shadow work that we do in our dark feminine magic is so essential. as a way to really start to align with our ego. So, walk us through what would a transformation from an being unaware to them being aware of our ego be like?
Ooh, okay. So, and I'm going to give you, I live life in visuals, right? So I'll give you a little, yeah, visual with it too, and how I work with it with my ego personally. So, awakening to your ego, right? Becoming aware of your ego. Maybe you look at how you interact with, it could be close friends, right? But more so in the public, right? So it could be external things, what you wear. It could be going to a dance class or a movement class and, making sure you are seen, right? And validated and as being the strongest or whatever, the sultriest or whatever it might be. It could be in conversations you have with people, how you are. Like, when you say something and you're like, wait, is that really me? Did I really mean what I said right there? I see it a lot in exaggerations too, right? I think as humans, we exaggerate because it makes the story more fun.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Are you suggesting that the most hyperbolic person that I've ever been aware of that may just be leading this country is living an ego? Oh my goodness.
yes. So watch for the exaggerations, right? Which is wild too, because we can talk about, who's guiding and things. And then when you tap into your own ego, side note, and the compassion comes,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you have compassion for some of the world leaders who don't have their shit together. So
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
it's so interesting to see how really this society almost rewards people.
mhm. Right. So we've tapped into, we could become aware, right? Maybe it's just by noticing, which is so uncomfortable. It's deeply uncomfortable to notice your ego, and to say, okay, I just said that, or I'm behaving a certain way. I can either push it down, or just say, no, it's not, it doesn't exist, or I can address it and I can sit with it, which looks like for me for journaling, or meditating or talking out loud. I'll speak out loud and I'll record myself on my phone even.
Oh,
So
I love that technique.
yeah, it's great. And I don't always re-listen. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah. But I can say, okay, I just behaved in a certain way. What was that? I'm gonna sit with it. And in sitting with it, I become more compassionate toward it. And my consciousness, my now, can actually have a seat at the table too, because I've opened up some space by sitting with it. And how I sit with it too, this is another part of it. This is like the visual part of it. So I noticed that one day, so I left teaching, right? Like movement teaching and exercise teaching, group fitness. And I returned after I took a year off, 2 years off really, within the baby space. And I also just wasn't sure how I felt about it. And I returned, and being in the space, I felt, for lack of a better word, triggered. I felt my ego be like, oh, you could teach this. Or like, oh, what if you did this? What if this workshop? Like it just kind of started running, right? Based on my sum of learned experiences, right? So everything that I have contributed within the space and everything that I have experienced. So instead of being like, no, I'm noticing you, I'm not doing that anymore. I got out my journal, and prior to journaling, I closed my eyes and I imagined my ego running in a meadow. I let her run, but there was a fence around it. So maybe the fence is the masculine, right? And letting her run free range ego is the feminine. And I just wanted to see what she was doing, where she was going, and I didn't hush anything. I nurtured it. I showed her compassion, and she told me, this is not me anymore. I want these things. My consciousness too, right? This is not me anymore, but I want these things. And my ego said, I just want you to write me a bio. I just want you to write me a bio of all the cool things I've done. So yeah.
Ah,
And that's also my consciousness coming in. So I think there's like also, that's integration of the ego with the consciousness. And the consciousness can say, let's write a bio. I see you, babe. You can keep running and come up with your ideas. And I think I even wrote down a few ideas too, because I knew that fence was there. I knew I wasn't going to act on it because now I've been working with my ego for some time. And so I wrote out a bio for myself. And then I kind of got tired halfway through my bio, writing it out for myself. And then I decided that maybe I should do this anyway for my daughter to know what I have done and some life experiences that I might forget, you know? And then the ego got quieter and quieter. She came back to me sitting on my front porch and puffing because she just ran like wild in the meadow.
Like
And
a
then,
lab, you're like, "Just go let it run for a little bit."
maybe she'll take a nap, and then I felt more at peace with myself. And then within that, can integrate her, right? So she just ran wild. I loved her. I showed her compassion as a big part of myself, showed my past experiences a big part. I didn't shame them or push them down or yell at them or whatever. Um, and then I have, again, all this now new space to where I can live in my consciousness, live in my now, take in new experiences, but also see the world with more compassion because I've shown more compassion to myself.
Okay, first of all, love it. This is, I mean, it's very parallel to shadow integration. The fact that you are essentially, this is a form of shadow work. So if people get confused about certain terminology, I think this is another beautiful way to put it. Essentially, you are reflecting, you're going within the subconscious self,
Mhm.
and you are integrating the shadow because we've talked about this. We don't release the shadow. We don't even heal the shadow because healing the shadow suggests that it's problematic. It's just something. Instead, when you integrate it, you accept it.
Mhm.
And then by accepting this inner child or this subconscious part of yourself, this shadow part of yourself, when you accept it and using this technique, integrate it, then it's no longer yelling, pay attention to me, validate me.
Right.
And now I'm curious, so if you have integrated, and this is just people who know you, love you, and are listening, what is, now that you're like, it's not the teaching thing, you want to share what did come up during that where you said, this is kind of when I want to feed to my ego now?
Yeah. Yeah. So what I would like to feed to my ego now is a continual compassion, right? And noticing when it comes up, when teaching stuff comes up, or anything related to performing, or, who I needed to be seen then. And now I would like to apply everything that I gained in my learned experiences within my ego to tapping into my consciousness. And my consciousness is saying, hey, all these years back, what did you always love to do? But like never felt good enough because maybe your ego is like, but you know these things, what don't you know? And that's tapping into the film industry, and that's acting, and I'm writing a screenplay, and I am going to cast people and do stuff that I did theater when I was young. I was remembering last night of like my first theater production. It was essentially like lip syncing to Aretha Franklin, I think in like third grade on stage.
Love it.
With this really sassy outfit on, and I was like, I want her, I want her who didn't think she was good enough, or for whatever reason, I tucked her away because I wanted to do other things, or I thought I needed to do other things because those things gained me external validation, and people would like me, and this and that, or I thought people would like this version of me, not shaming any of that, just what happened. So I'm really excited because now in my consciousness, I can say, I want to do this. And I have all this space today, currently, right? Because it's not, we have to like play with this. And it feels less scary, and it resonates more in my body. I feel embodied truly in wanting to do this and taking steps to doing this. And yeah.
Would you say that a really good way to move forward in a healthy ego is to tap in and see what feels good in your body and maybe potentially what you're leading with out of excitement and alignment versus fear?
Yes. Yes. So two things there. The hard yes, right? if something, or like the full bodied yes, which I know you've talked about in your newsletter, which I love. Yes. A full yes. So something's a full yes in my body first, I would say, probably less up here, then it's a full yes. If something is a maybe up here and a no in my body, then that's a no.
Mm.
So leading with that, I think is a part of the embodiment, a part of checking in with the ego. Yeah,
Would you say healthy or unhealthy ego is fear-led then?
absolutely. Fear
Because
led, it protects us.
it protects us. Yeah, it's because it's led from the mind. I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Did you have another point? Okay.
No, I have mom brain. I can't remember my other point.
So perfect. So I bet it will reemerge at the right time.
Yeah,
But this is really interesting because what we're really seeing here is A, the importance to know thyself, that big work within magic that I always say that within our virtual community, the multiverse, it's all about exploring magical principles to know thyself at a deeper level. And that requires embodiment. It's not mental masturbation
right.
because if you're not getting it in your body, then you're totally probably all mentally based, which is can be very deceptive.
Yeah.
And it's interesting enough talking about the multiverse. What I'm pulling together here is so last month our grimoire study was the moon, and this month our grimoire study is the sun. I can see how we can really equate the ego to the sun, but you need the moon in order to be expressing the sun in a healthy and empowered way. And then these are like really how they work together, how they're, that's why that the full cycle, the full self is the subconscious, the conscious, the full day is the day and the morning and the rising of the sun and then the setting of the sun, the day and the night situation.
Yeah. We need both. We need it all.
Yeah, and the ego could say, "I hate acting. I think acting's for dickholes, and I don't want to do it." And that could be the unhealthy ego speaking from the the brain or the conscious self. But then when you go the sun, that when you go to the moon, the subconscious self, you may actually uncover that you were in a play when you were a kid and you forgot your lines and everyone laughed at you, and
Absolutely.
so you're recognizing, actually, I do have a deep desire to do this. As a kid, I loved it until XYZ. And then this is where you can really potentially figure out, is this a truth? Is this an unhealthy ego? Is this a healthy ego, I guess?
And I think that's where the nurturing, right, and the compassion come in with the unhealthy ego too. If you look at it like you're trying to love on the parts of you that are maybe confused, confused or like you mentioned, having a really hard life and learned experience that you don't know. And if we love on those parts, then we can say, hey, is this what's going on here? Is this actually like a fear base, like you were mentioning, or like you actually really love this and you just need a little bit of like, you got this, that reminds me, like, is I'm in some parenting classes with my daughter, and she clings to me sometimes when she's scared. And the last thing you want to do, which I've learned, is to be like, you got this, babe, go play. Like,
Throw her into the pool, go
yeah,
swim, sink or swim, baby.
right. And I think exactly, yeah, go for it. Yeah. Um, that's the last thing you want to do with a child. You want them to become comfortable with you. There's nothing wrong with her clinging to me, and she'll be ready when she's ready to play. Similarly to the ego, right? We nurture the ego, we have compassion for it. And then it's that little voice, maybe the healthy part that's like, I actually want to do this. I want to do this. I'm ready to do this. And I think if we kind of like the fast paced sending to the ego, like you were mentioning, is reading the books, doing all of the physical things, but not embodying it, or not giving it like the testing spaces. Like, let's actually test life, not based on our learned experiences. Let's nurture that and then use what we've learned to actually experience life, to embody life.
Um, It is, and now this makes sense why, Michael Singer's definition is the sum of our learned experiences, because we really the ego is not some, I guess, purity, right? Where you have to find this essential self, because we are some of our experiences, and that the greater work is really to figure out what is external influence, what is an internal truth or an internal alignment versus some kind of seeking validation or meeting expectations.
Yeah.
And because we engage in this world, it's that's why this work is not, I love that you said you're not like, I healed my ego, I'm good now, I'm better than you and all of this, but like, it's the ego is going to always be in flux. And that is why this is an ongoing practice. This is why we fucking have spiritual practices, because and going back, we always talk about the dark feminine here. The masculine, I think, in what I have found in magic and spirituality, and even when it comes to the sun and the moon and understanding these metaphysical concepts, they just want to learn more information. And then they say, "Ah, I learned the thing, I know it." But you said you have to put it into practice. You have to embodiment. It's only a half knowing if you have not embodied it. And this is where someone knows all the things, but is not embodying the things.
Truly, 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 truly. Yeah. And it feels good to have knowledge.
It
It feels
does.
so good to the ego to have knowledge. I have all the books, I have all the tools, Yeah. But then it feels very scary to the ego to embody it, which is why we need it, right? We need to challenge our ego. Challenging our ego. And another thing that parenting comes up to me is having compassion with your child, but also being firm. So if you say no, love, but affirm, coming from a firm place. You can practice the same with the ego too. So, and that goes with the knowledge of it too. Like, I know you know all these things, babe. You have all these books, you're reading all these things, but like, let's apply some of it. Let's get even more uncomfortable so that we can open up all of this awesome space to play more.
Yeah. And I actually really, because I am childless, and so I would love to hear. I think just seeing it through the lens of a mother uh, is really helpful. And I would love to hear maybe how you think you raising a daughter now and moving and embodying this new identity, ego as a mother,
Yeah.
and having a child, eh, how can you see the parallels of inner child work maybe, and potentially even how you are planning to raise her in a way that is going to lead towards the healthy ego, that maybe you're seeing the parallel in yourself, like, oh yeah, and I need to do this for me.
I always read about that when I was becoming a mother. Is a child will challenge all of your if you allow a child to challenge all of those parts, they
It
will.
must be so healthy though to be like, oh my gosh, I am seeing this in myself. The microcosm is the macrocosm, or I may have switched those, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's super it's been my greatest transformation essentially. And an invitation to transformation. I don't want to say I've transformed because I think that's a part of the ego too, right? Always being in flux, but
We're
um
always transforming,
yeah.
we're just not being in, there's no stasis when I think you're raising a child. I think that is.
Yeah. Yeah. Every day, every hour is different. But yeah, I think it's really been a great ego challenge, and it showed me that the parts that I want to tend in myself, um, the harder parts I want to tend to for myself, so that I can show up as a very um, constant for her, a very secure, but also show the emotions. I think about showing emotions and how hard it was showing some deep emotions when I was a child, and even as a young adult, and further. I wanted to heal and tend and take care of, and and mind everyone else's emotions. And I'm tending to that right now within my ego, so that my daughter can receive the most emotionally healthy person. And she knows she doesn't have to do that for anyone else, just herself. She can take care of herself first, and that's okay. And so that's kind of the ego work that I've really faced as a parent, and wanting to put a human into the world who can just be mindful of our own emotions, and of course show up for people, and have compassion for people, which is also part of the ego work, right? Again, compassion, but it's okay to put herself first.
Ooh, and yeah, as you are learning those things for yourself, you can then instill in her as you're doing this work, and vice versa, as you're recognizing for her, okay, am I doing this for myself? Because it is, I think a lot of ego can be wrapped up in, I'm creating my child, right? Like this child is my mini me. And you can see parenting from a unhealthy egoic perspective can be really forcing a child to do something that is, and I mean, we've all seen this with our own parents. And I love your mom, she's wonderful. And you probably, as a, you know, now and mom can say, oh, okay, I see why maybe things had to be done this way, and I didn't recognize it as a thinking and being an all-knowing child at the time. But I think we've all experienced that trope of, oh, I'm going to grow up and be a lawyer because my dad wanted me to be a lawyer, or my mom always wanted me to dress girly, so I had to, you know what I mean? And it's like, these are the things that we can, if we don't check our own ego, can instill in other people and say, wait, this is, so I love how you said, like, you could put yourself first and it's not me telling you what that is.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that also brings up what you were mentioning, is like releasing ownership over her. You know, I want to put this incredible human being in the. I don't want to put this incredible human being. She is an incredible human
Yeah.
being. She is, right. But I want to nurture her to know her body, to know her mind, to trust her emotions, and do whatever she wants to do without my ego influence, for sure. And yeah, and that's hard because again, you have to look at your own ego and your own patterns, your own what slips in the way and things like that, and what comes forward. But her learned experiences are not my learned experiences. Your learned experiences are not my learned experiences. So we can just all embrace each other with compassion, and that includes me for my daughter and what she's learning and how I think I see things through her eyes. And
Well, and I can see how that totally applies to the greater collective, and this understanding that when you start doing this like egoic work, you really recognize we are truly unique. We have, again, returning to the sum of our lived experiences, we all have very different lived experiences. Do you want to chat a little bit about how all of this ego stuff can apply to the greater world or collective?
yeah, so the more that we work on ourselves, aka the more we become aware of our ego and our learned experiences, and we navigate our learned experiences in a very compassionate way, which can be really hard, and sometimes we're not compassionate at first. And we see those are just my learned experiences. I'm testing the world based on my learned experiences, and we integrate them, right? And then we come to more conscious living, or we just try to become more in our conscious living every single day. We become more compassionate with ourselves. When we notice things, we automatically go to compassion instead of shame or guilt or hatred toward ourselves.
Or towards other people even, right? Can that be like that's their fault?
Right. No, exactly. And that's what comes, right? So the more compassion we have with ourselves, the more we get to know ourselves, the more we can extend that to others. And we can see, you know what, that person just said something really weird to me, or that actually triggered my ego in a way. I think they might be living in their ego right now, which they're living in their sum of learned experiences. This is what they're navigating the world through. And maybe they're not aware of it. And It doesn't make something right, it doesn't make something right. It's just an awareness. And you can have more compassion for that person, more understanding for that person, or at least maybe make a greater positive assumption about something, or how they're acting or how they're behaving. Like, maybe something bad happened today, or maybe something in their past, maybe in their childhood something, or maybe their mom did something when they were a child, and maybe they're not ready to look at it yet. Maybe they're not even aware that it's something they need to look at yet. But again, it doesn't make everything right. It's just awareness. It's just awareness. And I think that lightens everyone's load too. And even if you extend compassion to somebody, you don't have to go up to them and say, I think you're in your ego right now. I'm going to give you compassion. uh, but in your, and for me, it's my ego recognizes your ego. Say that to myself, my ego recognizes your ego. And I'm just going to sit with it and see actually where it's might be triggering my ego, because that's my job. And I'm just going to see you through a more loving lens. And good luck. Good luck. Yeah.
Right. And my personal perspective on that is when I'm able to lead through that lens, I am able to respond, not react. And it's all goes back to people have free will. And we can't control others, but we can control ourselves. And having this lens to move through the world through gives us a moment to not just, I know you hate the word trigger, so like, but
No.
really trigger, because it's like you just, and then react versus awareness. Okay, I see what's happening here. I'm going to respond. And it doesn't mean I'm going to say, you're keep going with that. You're doing great. But it gives us the ability to choose how we are energetically exchanging. And if without that, I don't want to keep giving my energy to these people. So, and I mean, let's talk about online. How much do you think egoic bullshit is happening online, whether it is someone showing up inauthentically, whether it's someone showing up in a way where they need validation, or people having no healthy response in comments and just, unhinged comments that you can tell that stole that person's peace for the day.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, this person is out of wackadoodle, and I don't want to move throughout the world with people just stealing my energy.
Yeah. Yeah. So two things on that, right? Social media is a whole nother topic, right? And like how we operate so much in our ego and our unhealthy ego, but I'm just gonna say ugly ego because that's very Southern to say it's ugly, right?
Oh, Texas Carol.
But like, the ego that like is not serving us. That part of ourself that's not serving us. And that in that moment, right? And we can feel that after we share something and we're like, ugh, like that's a moment to be like, I'm gonna actually sit with that feeling and what just happened there. Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. And then of course mom brain with my next thought. But yeah, social media is a whole thing, and how we present. Oh, and then it's the more compassion we have for ourselves and the more we tend to our ego, that is something we can have compassion for other people 100%. We can see that, but you learn to protect yourself in a healthy way, right? We don't have that egoic control protection out of fear, right? We have that I love myself. I love what I've learned about myself. I love both my ego and my consciousness. I love where I'm going. And therefore, I'm going to protect myself in different ways than my past. And I'm going to limit my exposure to people who don't feel good, to opportunities that don't feel good, to situations that like, oh, I've no longer aligned with, because my ego is like, that I align with that. And you're like, I got you, babe. But I see you, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's not avoidance, it's not like, and I think again that's like an old masculine construct of And we see this very unhealthy in new age and spiritual communities where people are like, don't watch the news. Don't just completely shut yourself out from anything that's not high vibe
Right.
and loving. And that's so disassociative. Like
Yeah.
we're about embodiment. And so we're saying, yeah, you need to know what's going on in the world. Now do you have to be consumed by it to where you have to then numb yourself in order to continue to move throughout your day where it controls you? This is the greater work. Can you be aware of what's happening? And can you, through your practices, your rituals, can you be met with it and have it not control you? And when we lead in that space, I think we're not reacting to others, we're responding in a way where we're creating a new reality. And really, when I say as witches, we're the energy that controls the energy, right?
Yeah.
And so are you being controlled, or are you controlling what you can immediately, and not from an unhealthy egoic, I manipulate and control everything. No, no, no. Are you controlling your own energy?
Right. And that can be day to day, moment to moment. It's not an all or nothing, which the ego loves all or nothings. The unhealthy ego loves
Is
all or
that
nothing.
another sign? Yeah, do
Um,
you have any other signs of the unhealthy ego so we can kind of be aware when it comes up? So you said when you're speaking in exaggerations, hyperbolic,
yeah.
and so anyone who is it was the biggest. I am the best. This is,
Yeah.
okay,
Which is
there's some
easy.
ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So exaggerations, I would say, are kind of something to notice within yourself first, right? We have to notice ourselves first. Um, Anything that stems from external validation. So, I mean, you could feel that physically too when you're in your body if you're wanting some external validation. But I see it more so like how you present yourself in the world. Um, Heightened voice. If you want people to hear you, you speak higher. You know, Again, I see it with some parenting stuff where it's like, "Good job, baby!" Like in the middle of the grocery store, and you're like, "Cool." Your kid just signaled they need to use the potty. That's awesome. It's freaking awesome, right?
Yes.
We like I mean, I see it a lot in movement classes, and I've seen it a lot in movement classes, and I've even seen it in my past teacher ego. Like how am I wanting to be seen right now? Do I want to be seen as strong or powerful or very sexy or very this, like an extreme version of myself that is not the self that I am? And like, listen, we have like it's fun to flirt with things and like be like, look at me, yeah, ooh. But if we're doing it in a way that feels icky, that doesn't feel like really who we are. Um, so I would say like those, like anything that stems
If
from
you
external validation.
if you feel like this has come up a bunch of times, especially in our online community, which is being heard without having to scream. If you find that you have to scream to be heard, that is some kind of,
That's it. Yeah,
cons-
because oh,
I was going to say consistency. Like if someone's about to get hit by a car, go ahead, yell. It's not what we're talking about here.
yeah,
But if everything has to be like the most bold proclamation, which we can see how that relates to social media. I am on such a I'm so fucking done with social media thing. And I think it was because I went through this kind of coaching program that was to help with sales and marketing and all of that stuff. And I fucking hated it because it was so, and now I'm seeing, oh my gosh, it was a false ego that I was creating, and it didn't feel good in my body. But and then you see other people doing it. They're creating a false ego in order to gain attention, to get this validation around their work. And yeah, we all need to make money to live and all of that, and that's a more complicated thing that we're not going to talk about today. But I recognized it in myself when I was posting these things. I was like, ugh, and I did it anyway. So if you're giving yourself the or if you're it's yeah, I love how you said, look, because I'm using other people example. See when you're fucking doing it, girlfriend.
can I, can I ask you a question then? Because
Yeah.
so you said you did it anyway,
Yeah.
right? So what in your sum of learned experiences told you to do it anyway? Like, why were you felt it in your body and you did it anyway?
Ooh, I love that because I paid good money
Okay. Yeah.
to an expert
Okay.
and I put away and I dismissed my own expertise of myself because, well, I don't know this shit. This I paid this person because they know this shit and
Right.
they made this promise XYZ. So I again need I have a lot of expenses. So like I'm gonna do what they say and maybe it's and maybe this'll work or this is something that I need to move beyond being uncomfortable to be seen in this new way. And so where it was like, yeah, but you're embodied enough to know that if it doesn't feel good, that there's another way to do it. There's another, yeah. So I think ego can actually be tied to like, I want to be that person.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that person's the expert and they're saying that I can do XYZ.
Yeah.
I should be I don't know, this many followers or making this much money or getting this many people in my membership or whatever. And my ego is saying, well, I want to have that many people in my membership. I want this many people commenting on my things. That's so egoic.
And it's in the thinking, right?
In the
It's
thinking.
listening to our thinking brain.
Oh,
It's listening there, which actually the beautiful thing too is you listen to your thinking brain, right? And maybe for a moment you abandon what it felt like in your body, but
yeah.
you've been doing such work on yourself since forever, since I've known you. And you've created this really safe meadow for your ego to run in, and you're nurturing your ego so much that when you came to realize that, hey, like I wasn't in my body for that. I was in my mind for that. And I wanted that. And while there's some very realistic financial needs at play, at the end of the day, that didn't feel good. And I recognized it and I addressed it because I have your newsletter. Um, I love your newsletter. Um, but like you addressed it, and then it's like, hopefully for you, I don't know, it seems like you could come to that compassion really easy, right? Like, all right, this happens. I see it. I'm back in my body, y'all. I'm back in my consciousness. This is why, and I'm nurturing that, experience that I had, and I'm back. And I think that's again goes back to like it's not something that's to be controlled. It's not something that's to be trapped or something like that. It's not meant to like, oh, I'm going to take this. It's something to notice and to work with because it's a constant.
It's an experience to move through and choose, am I going to continue? But going back to what we talked about before, is very fear-based. And I think when it comes down to it, a lot of it is, am I going to survive? Am I going to be loved? It's probably those two. What are the other ones that you can distill to? Will I survive? Will I be loved? Are there other ones?
Am I accepted? Do I belong?
Am I
Belonging is a big part of ego too.
Yeah, which is survival because if I don't belong, the tribe is going to leave me behind in the wilderness and I will be, eaten alive or whatever. So it's like, and maybe that's love too, right? Is it all survival? Love is like, I mean, but to me, love is more of a emotional feed.
Yeah.
But again, if you have the fear that, or if you don't love yourself, you need other people to love you. RuPaul knew it the whole time. If you constantly need other people to love you, maybe you need to love yourself first.
Right. And then if someone doesn't love you externally because you don't know what that love is, you're going to base how they treat you or how they see you, right? And that's going to be a whole egoic exploration too.
And teaching your baby, your child how to love herself in a way where she's not pandering because I think so much of the ego is pandering to external.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that reminds me of what you just said too with social media or just seeing someone who has something that you think you need or you think you want. And it can really just be based on what you didn't receive as a child, what you didn't receive, or an experience that you had that you wanted something, you went out for something and didn't receive it or didn't happen. And so your learned experience is saying, that didn't happen for me. That was really hard. I'm going to either choose to have the lens of walking around just upset about that still forever. And that's a whole thing to tend to, or I'm going to have the lens of, I still really want that to feel fulfillment, to feel worthy, to like have success, right? Which then even goes like, what is the ego's idea of success, right? Like that's a whole, like, are your views of a successful, authentic, thriving human being rooted in ego or rooted in consciousness? And like, what kind of tidying up, what decluttering do we need to do of our ego within our ego?
Yeah, what is success? And I think again, because we always talk about through the lens of the dark feminine. And we say dark feminine because it needs to be uncovered, because we see success right now in society as you have a lot of followers, you make a lot of money, you potentially have the power to control a lot of people underneath of you. You, I mean, when I think of what people, if I put out there to people on the street, who would you name that successful right now? Unfortunately, I would say they would say men. They would probably say like Jeff Bezos or Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, the shit like that, where I don't know any of these people as humans and I don't desire to, but it would be nice if someone said, "Oh, my neighbor Jennifer, who is just always in a good mood when I see her. She seems like she moves through the world with lots of personal peace. She has like a loving relationship with her family, whatever, and it would be nice if it wasn't just people. I think the first people, what are they, like the three most rich people in the world, or in the top 10 probably? Can we equate, I think, and this is the point being, the world is being run by unhealthy ego right now. It's our vision of success is external validation.
Yep.
Des, what is your, I would say for me,
Yeah.
really, when I return, well, because I took this coaching program and did this thing based on external ego or fear based, which was, obviously the need to support myself. But it was grounded in not really what my healthy ego, which is I want creative freedom. For me, success is having creative freedom, obviously stability, and healthy relationships with aligned people, and having really, yeah, I mean, what would you say are some things that maybe we can reflect on that could be success for us?
Success within the healthy ego, within
Yeah.
integration of the ego. I think I feel knowing your yeses, knowing yourself, feeling like I know myself is really important, which
Mhm.
could start as making a list of what I don't know, what I don't like for myself. So knowing my yeses, knowing my what delivers pleasure and passion to myself. I don't know where that came from. Pleasure and passion to myself, how how others light me up, how I light others up, how I feel when I feel like my most authentic self. Um, what does that look like? Kind of like, okay, I lived today authentically, or I had a really authentic connection. Maybe that's journaling. Why was that authentic? So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, and that aligns to like, well, what's authentic to me? Some things that come to mind is like, to successful means to me like living in pleasure, having being able to feel good. I think it was Socrates who said like the whole point of everything is to be happy, and it's like, and maybe it wasn't him. It's been a while since I took philosophy in college, but yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's like, do we all just want to be fucking happy? And like, what makes us happy? And I, we all know that external things don't make us happy. It's the internal parts of ourselves and knowing thyself and then showing up as that. So for you, like, I what would make me happy is like writing a screenplay and writing. I know you love writing.
Yeah, yeah, writing a screenplay for sure. Interacting with other actors, feeling nervous again about it is would bring me happiness.
Yeah.
Um,
Feeling in general.
yes, feeling, exploring, um, a lightness to my creativity, not a weight within my creativity, not feeling pressured or having a to-do list of 1,000 things when it revolves around my creativity is really important to me. Um, Flexibility in my creativity. Fluidity is a big part of my creativity. What feels like success to me is fluidity, and being able to take things slower and moment by moment is my now success.
I love it. And why I wanted to ask that for both of us, because hopefully people listening or watching can do this. What does success look like for you? And this was one of our multiverse covenants, which was like, make a list of who you are outside of the external validation, and then aspects of yourself that are really not does not bring joy, you know. And do we need to Marie Kondo our life? But what, you know, I what I want to return to before we kind of get into the closing part of the podcast is all of these things that we are saying, I'm noticing, require a sense of stability and safeness, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so it's why we have to be very conscious about the relationships that we engage in, but even at a, yeah, and where the opportunities we partake in, and using our intuition and our our inner knowing to guide us. But also, do you feel safe in your body? Do you feel stable and grounded in your body? If not, what are the tools that you're using? We are both, in both of us at our core, are movers and dancers. And without those tools, everything that we just said and we talked about today is gonna probably be a little null and void because you're just concepting it. But when I think about having creative freedom, when I think about moving in flow, being able to be authentic, yeah, we need the resources, but before all that, even, we need to be feeling secure and safe in our own meat suits, that we can move beyond what we have been taught is the safe way to do things, the way we'll be accepted. You know, when you don't feel safe in your body, and you don't feel grounded and rooted in your body, you're operating from energetic and emotional chaos, which is problematic because that's what we're matching. As is within, so is without. But also, we're never going to be able to move beyond what the world has told us we need to be, because we associate that with survival, which we said is love, acceptance, XYZ. So that's going to be my little wrap up, which is, if we're starting anything, make sure you're always incorporating some kind of embodiment practice that is going to ground and root, and your energy, make you feel safe in your body, not like your body is something to be fighting. So anyway, that was my soapbox. But Des, I know that Papa has the kiddo out of the park and could be returning any moment. So I want to make sure we get into our wrap up questions. And then I'll also, well, let's get in the wrap up question. Then I want to give you an opportunity to share anything else that you've just been on your heart. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Right. Because I know some of them may be incorporated to these. So, first and foremost, what is your personal mantra or source of daily inspiration?
Okay, I love this question. So initially, I was like, daily inspiration. What I do every day is I have either my Mark Nepo book, I have a Substack that I've saved. Wait,
What's your Substack? How can we find you on Substack? What is it?
no, it's your Substack that I was
Oh,
thinking.
it's my Substack.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I,
Des got me into Substack, and I love it,
oh, it's such a cool
as
place.
an aside,
Yeah,
because it's not social media. Okay, go on.
it's a cool place.
Yeah.
But I have some, initially when I read this question, I was like, okay, well, I have my books, I have my scripture, I have my Substack, I have my Pamela Anderson recording Substack. Love.
Love
Um,
her.
love her. So I have like, all these written things, but then I was like, those deliver inspiration and I journal on them. But truly, what is my daily source of inspiration is every morning I go outside. Dada takes the baby for an hour, which is incredible and necessary. And I sit outside on a park bench and I journal. And it's not the journaling again, or the books, or whatever's physically inspiring me. It's talking with people that is my daily source of inspiration, and it's strangers. And I have different level of strangers. Now, when I say stranger, it's not like the like something negative. It's like the hey stranger. When you greet someone, hey stranger. That's my strangers. So I have my regulars, my regular strangers. So which are a couple of people, a couple of my elder folks in the community that I love. They have their cute dogs. I know when their dogs get groomed, and I have comments about their T-shirts. And one guy had one that said, "Everything hurts," and I was like, "Oh, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yep, but had to get the shirt. Had to get the shirt." So I have my like regular strangers, and then I have my people that I say something to. I smile. It might not be saying, might be eye contact, smile, or have a great day, or if I see a mama going on a walk with a tiny baby, I'm like, get it, mama, or just some kind of connection outside of my community that I know, my tiny community, but my like little bit bigger community, my stranger community is really, really my daily source of inspiration, because you never know what someone's going to share or say. Or like yesterday I had a woman who was walking a dog and her dog was paralyzed from a dental cleaning. I know now I should have done like bubble of peace moment there, but but the dog was walking like kind of funky and fun, and I was like, look at her go though. And she's like, I know, we're doing all kinds of therapy, it's just a miracle. And like we just kind of had that moment, and I was like, well, sending you so much love. And she was like, thank you so much, we're really hopeful. So my source of daily inspiration is interacting with people, purposeful strangers, or my regular strangers. And just, it feels good in my body. It feels good to me to do that. Just to know that like we're all we've got. And you feel less alone too when you can just see God and recognize people, and just, it's wonderful.
And Des, I feel like this is another ego practice. Get out of your own self and just have connection with others and start to recognize the world beyond your own head.
Yeah.
Your own life, your own self. Yeah.
And not having that connection based on selling something or connection, which is, my background, or like promoting something or whatever. It's like, I just want to get to know you. I don't know their names yet. That's a whole nother thing. I need to be like, what's your name? And that's next level integration. But
that's such, yeah. Hi, I'm Des. Like that's like such an inner child thing, like going to the park and being like, hi, I'm Kristen. You want to play? Want to be my friend?
On that.
Oh, I love it. Oh, great answer. All right. What is your favorite sensuous indulgence?
Mm-hmm. So I thought about all the senses, right? So smelling, I love smelling my daughter's head. She smells like a baby still. So that's something that is really precious to me and grounding to me. And it definitely just feels like a really special thing. But then like, I'd say more of like the typical thing is you got me back into matcha. So I drink my morning matcha with oat milk and agave nectar. And that's something I just love so much. And I haven't been on caffeine for a long time, so extra love it. And then we have little sweet tomatoes in the garden. And another thing that I do every afternoon is take my daughter out and we just pluck off the tomatoes. And she's actually starting to eat them now. First, they were kind of like, ooh,
Yeah.
And that's just so fun, like picking tomatoes off of the vine and eating them together, and really beautiful. So.
I love all of those answers. Yeah, baby head smells so good. Give us a baby head. And tomatoes and matcha. Okay. All right. And then final question. What does living fully in your dark feminine magic look like to you?
Being in tune with my yeses. Being in tune with my yeses. Just that's, if you have one takeaway, I would say just get in touch with your yes, and get in touch with your no. Get in touch with your no too. And notice if your yes or no comes from your body or your mind.
Ah, dang. Mic drop. Ah, yeah, I think that's what it all comes down to. Again, that's know thyself. I always say that, just because that is such like a magical axiom. It was etched in the door above the Temple of Delphi. It's so ancient. But because we've always lived in a world with external influence, and it is magic to know thyself, and without embodiment, you don't know yourself. So, knowing yourself isn't a pure mental experience. So, Des, thank you for talking ego with us. I didn't even think about it, but it's so perfect with our August month of working with sun energy. So I'm going to make sure all of our multiverse babes catch this. And it definitely wove in our last month working with the moon. And so it's like this is why I'm just going to say, in the multiverse, we work with all the different planetary energies and elemental energies. And it's all about not to worship the sun, but it's to understand that energy and then reflect with our dark feminine how that applies to ourselves, and for us to unearth our healthy and unhealthy connections with those energies, so ultimately we can know ourselves at a deeper level. And like ego is such an important part of that. So thank you.
Thank you. This is amazing. I mean, the conversation. I'm just so happy. You never
Uh,
know where it's gonna go, and it's just beautiful.
we never know where it's going to go. So, Des, do you want anyone to follow you any place? Instagram? We hate social media, but, we still can. What if we only follow people that make us feel good?
Yeah. I have an Instagram. So I would say this is a little bit of ego. I took 16 months off of
Yes.
Instagram, and I would recommend everyone take a lengthy time off of Instagram or social media. Just get
Yeah.
away. It will help you come back to yourself. But I actually recently got an Instagram. It's Contact Nap Haiku is my name, because my baby sleeps on me for all naps, all sleep. And I write haiku sometimes when she's napping on me. It's like my, oh, what is that poet that said small acts, tiny acts of alchemy, of creative alchemy? That's like what I like to do. So I'm there. I don't post much, but I would love to connect, and maybe you'll see my movie or my my film in the next hopefully 5 years. So
That would be amazing. We're all celebrating you and cheering you on. So, Des, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for listening or watching. We love you. Thank you for joining. Follow me on Instagram at crimson.minx and visit esoerotic.com to learn to live more fully and unapologetically in your magnetic power, sensual pleasure, and unlimited creative potential.